Hello and welcome to another episode of Nine to Never, the podcast all about entrepreneurship, quitting your 9 to 5, e-commerce, and creating the career of your dreams online. My name is Kennedy Meek, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Zendrop and also the host of this podcast. Today's guest is someone near and dear to my heart as he is one of my team members, Dean Pagano. Dean specializes in working with our high volume sellers here at Zendrop, and he has also spent many years of his career consulting with high volume sellers prior to working with us. I wanted to bring him onto the podcast to really discuss the concept of scaling and what differentiates a newer dropshipper who is doing average volume and these high volume mega sellers that we hear about all the time online. So this episode is chock full of so many different valuable pieces of information in terms of scaling your business and starting to grow an online dropshipping store. So if you're ready to learn how to take your business from something smaller to something amazing, keep on listening. All right, so we have Dean Pagano on today. He actually works with me very closely to me at Zendrop, but I'm excited to be able to riff with you on a podcast instead of discussing the day-to-days of our company. So Dean, why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience, explain a little bit about your expertise in Zendrop and what you do on a daily basis and all that jazz.
Well, Kennedy, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on this podcast. Like Kennedy said, my name is Dean Pagano. I am the head of Zendrop Select and sales at Zendrop. I've been an e-commerce consultant for a long time. Worked with Jared back in the ecom hacks days, and I've worked with thousands of high volume sellers, some of the best in the business. And it's been pretty amazing to see how dropshipping has evolved over the last 4 to 5 years. But I think this is going to be a great podcast, a lot of value for our high volume sellers and people that are just trying to get into it. And like I said, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to get into this.
Yeah, let's actually dive into that. You just said, dropshipping has changed and e-commerce has changed so much over the past 4 or 5 years. Give us a little bit more insight on how you've seen that change happen.
Sure. Well, first and foremost is the obvious, the elephant in the room, how consumer buying habits have changed over the last couple of decades. Um, I always use the example, like shopping malls went from a place that you can go and shop at, and you could also grab a bite to eat at the food court, and they turned into you can go out, grab a bite to eat, and there's also stores there. So it's like what that represents for me is just every single year we're seeing double digits in percent growth of e-commerce sales online, especially with COVID. And yeah, people are buying online. It's growing rapidly. We haven't even scratched the surface of the total GDP or global economy, whatever. And it's fascinating to see that. But so many new ad platforms, so many ways of getting people to your store and driving traffic, and so much happening so fast. Things are changing on a month-to-month basis, which is pretty incredible to see happen. And it's moving fast. I think that's the key.
So, Dean, you work with all of our most successful e-commerce entrepreneurs on the Zendrop platform. You are handling hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue on a daily basis with these successful dropshippers. How have you seen them adapting to this rapid growth of e-commerce and online retail?
Yeah, so I think to kind of hone in on one of the things that you said there is the most successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, they don't have some sort of secret that we all can't find, right? We all have access to the same resources, the same 24 hours in a day. Yes, it helps to have cash flow and it helps to have finances to back your ventures. However, these people are extremely successful because when something changes or there's some sort of headline or some news in the space, they're not afraid to go for it. They're not afraid to dive into the unknown. And so I think that how our most successful e-commerce entrepreneurs and our partners are setting themselves apart is that they're not afraid to be pioneers. Most recently, like, the TikTok ad platforms that are releasing, they're not afraid to jump into that, even though there's no self-proclaimed experts or courses that you could buy or training that you could get your hands on. They just dive in and they take full responsibility for mistakes, but they push through. I mean, if you try one more time, you'll never fail. And I think that's what our high volume sellers keep in mind.
There's definitely something to that. I mean, we can parallel that to the concept of imposter syndrome, right? We have a lot of new users on a daily basis trying to start their own dropshipping stores. But I think what differentiates those scalable, high volume, successful sellers from a new dropshipper who might be finding failure is the process of pushing through, right? Seeing these new innovations in the e-commerce space and being adaptable as possible and being able to not only adapt, but jump onto and succeed in these new ways of marketing and e-commerce.
Mm. Every e-commerce expert that you'll talk to will always spend a large portion of their time talking about mindset. It's not even 100% entirely about e-commerce skill or technique as an entrepreneur. It's 100% just dedication and discipline. Um, I know one of the themes that we talk about at Zendrop a lot is the valley of disappointment, is just doing things and not expecting that instant gratification, which is hard. It's not easy to do. But you have to understand, I mean, going back to my days as a consultant, I'll take an example of, a fictional person that quote unquote fails in e-commerce and somebody that succeeds. So the first example would be somebody that tests one product or two products and then, doesn't become a millionaire overnight and just gives up, and they're frustrated and they're blaming the program, they're blaming the industry, they're blaming the business model, whatever. Um, and then somebody that succeeds will fail on 67 products, and their 68th product will be a winner, and they've already had so much data and experience and so many failures that they've just learned from, that now that 68th product, that 100th product, whatever it is, they know exactly what to do. And then it's just the snowball's been rolling down the hill for too long, and it's too big and it's going too fast, and then it's just it's just a numbers game from that point. And that's how you see these big winners.
So let's touch on some of those failures that you're discussing right now. When you're working with these high volume sellers and these highly successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, what are those large struggles that they are having to work to overcome?
Yeah, well, I think talking about the business model in general is a good place to start. So, on paper, if you know nothing about dropshipping and you were presented the idea that you can get on your laptop, build a store in 60 minutes, start running some paid advertising, and within a couple of minutes, you could start selling products that you've never even seen. It sounds perfect, right?
Of
Um,
course.
However, the main setbacks and the main obstacles are usually there's not too many of them. There's a handful of them. You can count on one hand how many of them there are. Number one is usually quality control of your products. So a lot of agents in China, which is primarily where dropshippers are sourcing their products, a lot of times they're just looking to make a quick buck. So they'll actually start sending out lower quality products as you start to scale to keep their margins high. And that will result in a lot of chargebacks, and it's really hard to scale a brand if you're sending out lackluster products, or if you're over promising and under delivering. That's number one. And one of the ways to get through that is to find a reliable supplier or fulfillment partner, and just be totally transparent with them. Another thing that we're seeing is like long shipping times. So specifically to the US, shipping times are typically longer. Um, However, if you have a partner that's integrated with lots of factories and has access to many different shipping lines, you can kind of alleviate some of that. You don't want to start shipping out products a month after somebody orders them.
Of
And then
course.
some things are out of your control, like Facebook. A lot of our um, high volume selling partners, when they start to scale, Facebook can hit them with some setbacks and maybe shut down an ad account, just to be precautionary. But again, our high volume sellers and successful clients that we work with, they have that mindset that Facebook is not going to hold you in a stranglehold. Like, there's other ways to drive traffic: Google, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is. If there's a will, there's a way, and you can work past it. But that's pretty much what we see.
So on the topic of other ways to drive traffic to your online store, I think this is so important to touch on because you're right. What sets successful dropshippers from average or non-successful dropshippers apart is the fact that they are exploring other avenues of online marketing to get more traffic to their website. So with our high volume sellers at Zendrop, what are some of the most common ways that they branch out from paid advertising in order to get more traffic to their stores?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. And so, although paid advertising is a primary source, one of the great ways to do it is through influencer marketing, which you've put out some incredible content about. So kudos to you on that. You're an influencer marketing expert, honestly, and I've learned a lot from you about that. But that's becoming more and more popular, especially as you're scaling with the mindset of I'm going to build a brand as opposed to just like selling products, for the hell of it. I'm going to build a brand and I'm going to get good quality products into the right people's hands. That's a great way to drive traffic. And then riding the wave of organic. We saw it a couple of years ago, maybe 5 to 6 years ago with Instagram. It was pretty easy to get organic hits there. Now they're making a comeback with
It's
Reels, which
becoming
is a great
so
way.
much more complicated now, but
It is complicated,
yeah.
but there are still ways. I mean, and people are always looking for that secret to how do I, create this viral. The key is really two things. Just put out good content, first of all. Too many people are trying to kind of, sneak by with content that's just it's just not
Not hitting it.
it's just
It's just
not
not
it.
there. It's just not it.
Let's put out good content and then just keep firing away. Like put out if you're trying to get a product out there, put out 7 TikToks a day and see what happens and hold yourself to that. And sometimes with TikTok, with IG Reels, it does take one. But at the end of the day, you just want to put out as much as possible and get
I think it's
creative with it.
important. I think it's important to also discuss that, yes, when you're starting a new brand, when you're trying to explore these other avenues of online organic marketing, it's not one size fits all. You're going to need to play around with a lot of different types of online organic marketing, but also personally, quality over quantity is so important. I'm sure you can agree with me when I say this, that high volume sellers or very largely successful drop shippers are not just creating one product stores or general stores, they're creating an actual brand. And with that comes a lot more accountability with the types of content you're putting out. So yeah, if you can actively commit to putting out 7 high quality, consistent TikToks a day, do it. Absolutely,
Mhm.
100%. But if you're just like slapping up a video of you just, I don't know, like filming your product and then being like, that'll do, here's a trending song, like you're
Right.
actually doing yourself more damage than good.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And I think that's very in line with one of these really great lessons that one of our very successful students back in the consulting days, he kind of brought our awareness to the fact that every single person, every single time your Shopify app dings you with another sale, you have to remember, and it's very hard, especially in the world that we live in, where everything's remote, and a lot of times, you know, a lot of times sales are just numbers on a screen and letters on a screen, and we're not really realizing that on the other end of that sale is a human being that resonated with your product enough to to purchase it. And there's a value trade-off there. They felt that they wanted what you had because it spoke to them. And understanding that responsibility that you have, that you can't get by and expect to scale an ethical and business that you can look back and be proud of. You can't expect to get by treating it as just you know something I'm going to work on for a couple months, scale it up, make some money, and then move on. It's really important to focus on your brand, focus on your product, focus on your customer service, and make sure that you're doing people a service when you're scaling these businesses. And I think that is a huge theme because we're seeing less and less of those like quick, like super unbranded general stores, like with like hot trending products, we're seeing less and less of those really take off, and more of our winners are becoming like something that you can buy into. Like I love this brand, I want to buy into that brand, that culture, that vibe. So paying attention to that is super important.
So we already touched on several of the different struggles that we see high volume sellers start to experience as they begin to scale their stores. On the topic of customer service, we'll just start there because I think that's a huge issue for stores as they start to scale and they're getting hundreds, if not thousands of orders a day. Now we're dealing with a larger customer base. In regards to, like we just talked about, chargebacks, refunds, all this kind of stuff, how do you see high volume sellers really combating this and overcoming this so that their brand rapport and their brand identity stays intact?
Sure. Yeah. There's really there's two parts to this. There's the pre-sale and the post-sale slash like post um, like complaint, I guess we'll call it. But the pre-sale, number one, is pretty easy. Is be totally transparent. If it's if it's taking you on average 20 to 25 to 40 days to ship out a product, number one, you should find a new supplier. But number two, you should be telling your end user, your customers on your site that that's how long it'll take. I think the reason that you can start to see some success and then immediately run into a customer service nightmare is because you're not being fully transparent or transparent enough on your page. And in a world of Amazon Prime, where I can buy something at 11:30 p.m. and it shows up at my doorstep in 24 hours, um, you need to be realistic with your customers about what's happening. So that's number one. Um, Number two, I think, again, back to what I said before about like this is a human being that had some expectations about what they were buying into, and it clearly didn't meet their expectations. So you need to be totally even keel with them, and if they're requesting a refund, refund them. You know what I mean? Offer them a coupon code, offer them some assistance, just be there for them, be as um nobody wants to be ghosted by a company that they just paid money to. it's not
So to
it's not
touch on
cool
that
and
though, how do obviously if we're issuing a refund as an online store, now we're having to deal with the concept of our suppliers, right? We might be refunding our customer, but we're still losing money on the back end. How do you recommend scaling stores deal with suppliers who might be difficult in terms of refunds?
hmm well, yeah, I mean, a lot of times if you're working with smaller fulfillment partners, they might not be as lenient with their refund policy. But it's important, for example, with Zendrop Select, uh, our refund policy is if you're refunding your customer, which you should if there's ever any issues with the product, we give you a full refund, no questions asked. So that is a huge plus. But I'd say, um, again, uh, it's worth it if you lose a little bit of money on the back end to alleviate um, a disaster, because again, in the world that we live in, all it takes is one TikTok saying, hey, I had a terrible experience with so and so company, and you'll never make a sale again, and you gotta jump ship. And if you're doing it the right way and you're really putting money towards building a brand and putting time and effort and energy, that's the last thing you want to happen. It's really, really hard to recover from things like that.
Couldn't agree more. So you mentioned Zendrop Select just now. We haven't really even touched on it today, but that is your bread and butter and your expertise here at Zendrop is Zendrop
Mhm.
Select and our high volume sellers. Can you give our listeners a little bit of insight to what Zendrop Select is, why it was founded, and how it's benefiting our current sellers?
Sure thing. Yeah. Yeah. As you mentioned, Zendrop Select, the thought process behind this program was um, essentially like here in the U.S. There's you could bank with Chase, Bank of America, TD, Wells Fargo, yada yada. You're gonna get the same experience. You could withdraw, deposit, set up an account, etc. There's really nothing too proprietary about that experience, but for high net worth individuals, like for example, Chase Bank, they have something called Chase Private Client. And again, it's a free service that essentially you're going to get all that same banking experience. However, you're going to get a host of other features and tools. Your dedicated account representative, premium service, whatever it is that Chase offers. And it's just to maintain you as a high net worth individual, to keep you banking with Chase, and it gives you great service. So when we were kind of diving into our model, we were realizing a great way to take high volume sellers from 50K a month to 200K a day would be to just give them a little bit more of a nudge and their become an extension of their fulfillment team. And so with our select clients, like I said, high volume sellers, we actually bring them all into Slack and have their own dedicated Slack channel for them, which is super great. We have a bunch of people from our tech team, our support team, myself, and a bunch of other people that are just hitting them with customer service requests and helping them out all day long. Additionally, like I said, you can scale your business with a credit card, which is great. A lot of other agents that you might work with will ask you to wire them. So if you're spending a lot as a high volume seller, you're missing out on a lot of rewards points, which is a great plus. And then, of course, we own Zendrop Fulfillment Co. So we're integrated with over 2,000 factories, hundreds of shipping lines. So when you come on as a select client, we actually are able to take your winning products and get you private listings with competitive quotes. So it's price matching, or we could beat your prices. And then we could talk about like custom packaging, the whole custom branding experience, as well as fast shipping times. So it's really a win-win, kind of a no-brainer if you're a high volume seller.
So with Zendrop Select, how have you seen it positively impact all of our current clients? Like, where have they seen the most success in their business because they're actively working with Zendrop Select?
Yeah, I think the key here is that um, working with other agents in China can sometimes be a pain in the neck. The thing to keep in mind is that Zendrop is a venture-backed U.S. company, and so our team is spread out through basically all different time zones, as you know. And so if you have an urgent request or you need help right away, we're able to get right in there with you in real time and help you out with your you know with whatever your request is. Um, but as a business owner, if you're trying to scale, a lot of times it can be difficult to kind of cross the chasm of you know, like I said, 50K a month to get to 200K a day or something, just because you've got your hands in so many other parts of the business. If we can just take the fulfillment and logistics part of your business and just make that completely hands off for you, you can spend your time focusing on the big picture, strategizing how to further scale. So we've seen people, kind of just taking a weight off their shoulders, letting them take a breath of fresh air and kind of look back at their business from a zoomed out perspective and be like, okay, like here's what I need to do. Zendrop's going to handle fulfillment. I got to push forward with my brand, my advertising, whatever it is.
Yeah, it gives them a little room to breathe to actually do what we were just discussing, which is turning an online store that, your products might be coming from China or the US, depending on your fulfillment, but turning just a random online store into a brand. But sometimes when you have the stress of a random Chinese sourcing agent, you're spending so much time being on that person's ass, trying to get them to do what they need to do for your business. And then you're no longer growing. You're so stagnant.
Right. Right. And it can be really tough because, um, these, for the most part, most of the agents that you'll find in China, they're not really in it for you. They're trying to make a quick buck most of the time.
Of course.
And so a lot of times, and this happened to our stores in the past, way back before Zendrop was even created. It's like we were trying to scale and, you know, we like after a few hundred orders, our fulfillment agent was sending out fake tracking numbers, and it turned into a customer service nightmare. And
Oh
yeah, a
God.
lot of money was lost. And so that was one of the pivotal points of like, oh, this is a huge problem with this, perfect business model on paper. And if we can kind of exploit that, we could help these drop shippers go from drop shippers to real brand entrepreneurs that are scaling these big brands and businesses.
Are any other fulfillment resources that we know of offering a service like this?
Currently, there's nobody that's fulfilling or offering a fulfillment service like this. Um, and again, uh, I might sound biased about this, but again, if you're going to come to Select, we're going to price match. We're going to get you a better price, better shipping times. We're going to brand your products, and we're going to be there for you 24/7. I mean, there's really not much left to the fulfillment process than that. So I think we've got pretty much everybody beat there.
We've got it on lock over here at Zendrop. Okay, I do want to get really real about something because I think that it's
Sure.
important to touch on this. Naturally in the e-commerce space, we are vulnerable to so many other outside sources that can impact our business. For example, Facebook accounts being shut down, chargebacks shutting down our Stripe accounts, or what have you. And because of this, I've seen this personally, I know you have as well, a lot of drop shippers who are seasoned and very, very exceptional at what they do, having to completely pivot their online stores, right? They came on to Zendrop with, or they came on to any fulfillment resource with one product type, one type of brand. And then now we're seeing them pivot. So I know that we've actually had a few clients like this that has happened at Zendrop. And so how do we as a company kind of help them shift their focus to a new store that might not be doing as such high volume, even though it has the potential?
Yeah, I mean, that is the elephant in the room. I mean, if you're getting into any entrepreneurial endeavor, you have to understand the risks that are associated with it.
Of course.
And so even if you're crushing it, again, like you said, Stripe, Facebook, whatever it is, they could step in and it could cause you some issues. But I think that's the nature of an entrepreneur, is being able to roll with the punches, as they say. And so when it comes to like being part of the Zendrop family, if you're faced with obstacles like that, we're not giving up on you as a person. Like, we're partnering with you, right? So if this business doesn't work out, we'll help you get right back up to speed with another business. Basically, everybody on the Zendrop team is like, we're all just a bunch of entrepreneurs like working with one mission and one goal in mind, which is so
That's
cool,
so true. It's
because
really
like,
true.
yeah, we all come from diverse, mostly entrepreneurial backgrounds. And so like, we understand the day in the life of an entrepreneur better than anybody, because we are entrepreneurs. And yeah, like I said, I mean, we become partners with you, not your business with you. And we'll help push you forward, whatever, by any means. That's our goal.
So let's tell our listeners a little bit about the qualifications in being part of Zendrop Select and how to actively be a part of this exclusive aspect of Zendrop.
Sure. Yeah. So to be a part of Zendrop, anybody can sign up and start up. And I highly encourage you, if you're looking to get into e-commerce, to sign up for Zendrop, start on a free plan, click around and check it out, because it's really, really helpful. And I wish that Zendrop existed 5 years ago when I was trying to get into this. It would have made it a whole lot easier and saved me a lot of time. But in terms of Zendrop Select, if you are a high volume seller, um, you know, typically over $20,000 a month, but pretty flexible. We like to get to know all of our select clients before actually working with them, so there is a little bit of a discovery call with myself and other people from the team. So if you think that you are qualified for Zendrop Select, feel free to apply, and we'll hit you up with a booking link after we review your application. and we'll get on a call just like this on Zoom and chat. Um, and then we'll help you out with the onboarding process if you're qualified from that point on.
So, Dean, where can users who believe they qualify for Zendrop Select go and apply, and also just learn more about Zendrop Select in general?
So if you go to zendrop.com and you click on for dropshippers, it's under the tab for high volume sellers. So you click there, you'll have a lot more information about Zendrop Select. You could check it out, and right there you could apply.
Yeah, and there is so many other resources that Zendrop also offers that can kind of help you start qualifying for Zendrop Select if you aren't already qualified. Because, our goal would be to have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but our goal would be to have all of Zendrop's sellers be high volume sellers, right? We believe in the success of our community. That's the whole reason Zendrop was created. And so even if you don't feel like you qualify now, we have so many resources such as the Zen Rocket Challenge, which is a free 10-day course all about starting your very first dropshipping business. And then we also have Zendrop Academy, which is available on our pro membership. And this teaches you in grave detail how to launch successful Facebook ads and also testing multiple different types of Facebook ad strategies. So we're not leaving anyone in the dark if they're not ready for Zendrop Select. We want every user to be ready for Zendrop Select one day. So even guys, if, you're listening to this podcast and you're feeling a little bit in fear that, oh no, this isn't for me, I'm not ready yet, and some imposter syndrome is kicking in, I think Dean can agree it's totally normal, but we're not leaving you guys hanging.
Yeah, I think, if I look back at the choices that I've made in my career and in my life and the things that I've wanted to do, you can't let fear hold you back. If you're looking to start a business and you really don't know where to start, not only is our platform a great tool to help you, but it'll also teach you what to do and how to start, which is super powerful. So like Kennedy said, tons of resources to help you get your feet off the ground, or for high volume sellers to go from 6 figures to 7 figures.
That would be the goal.
Yeah.
All right, Dean, I have one more question for you before I let
Sure.
you go. What is your favorite part about working at Zendrop?
My favorite part about working for Zendrop, it's it's got to be I got two answers for you.
Okay. All right.
Number one is the team. Um, I love you guys, and I love getting to meet with you guys every day and work closely with you guys. It is the best group, um, you know, to spend our working hours with. That's number one.
Couldn't agree
Number
more.
two, number two is making a difference. I think that what I talked about earlier about every sale that you get on your Shopify store is a real live human being. It's I actually get to meet with people that have families, have expenses, have dreams, have goals and ambitions. I get to meet with them, and because of our efforts at Zendrop and you know Zendrop Select, whatever it is, because of our efforts and our tools and our hard work, these people are able to take their businesses from 6 figures to 7 figures, or from 5 figures to 6 figures, whatever it is. And that's incredible. That's somebody's business, that's somebody's livelihood, and that's very gratifying. That's what makes it all worth it for me.
I also could not agree more. Well, Dean, thank you so much for coming on and really giving some insight to our listeners in terms of what being a high volume seller means and how to get there, more importantly. Again, for our listeners, if you feel like you qualify for Zendrop Select, we would love to see you in our application pool. Either Dean or one of our other team members are so excited to talk to you. And if you don't feel like you're quite there yet, don't worry. We have so many ways and resources to help support you guys in growing the career of your dreams and quitting your 9 to 5, because that is what it's all about here.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was awesome being on the podcast. Um, the past podcasts have been amazing, and we've had some amazing people on this podcast so far. And I'm humbled to have been invited and share some insight. If you're looking to get started, I think you just got to jump in um, into the unknown and accept, and with full responsibility, whatever comes your way, but just earn it. That's the best way to do it, is to earn it. So keep putting yourself out there and keep trying, because to all the hustlers out there, we're right there with you, and we appreciate you.